Welcome to Being Confident from Within with Natalie Potts, the podcast that shares what it really takes to be confident. I'm passionate about helping people grow businesses with confidence. Does it seem like everyone around you is naturally confident and sure of themselves? Well, the chances are they have self-doubts just like you. I'm in conversations with inspiring individuals to share what confidence means to them and to help you find ways to believe in yourself and create confidence at any time. Stephen, thank you so much for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have some time with you. Share with everybody what you do and all about yourself.
Okay, cool. Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. Anything that's talking about confidence or mindset, like I'm all over that. It's like my favourite subject. So I currently work at Rebellious Business Network. So I'm head of strategy for the company. I do sales for people coming on board, and I also do client calls as well. So I love it. I get to speak to people all day. I get to hear the problems or their obstacles. And then at that point, I can offer them solutions. So it's really great fun. And there's nothing, the biggest gift in the world, I think, is that when somebody's struggling with something, that you can turn around and just go, here's a solution. And maybe it's a hug, maybe it's a handshake, maybe it's spending 10 minutes in their business, maybe it's working with them closely for a 6-month period, whatever it is. But I take great joy in being able to, help people and turn their business around. I do think it's like the best gift in the world.
Yeah, that absolutely resonates with myself. So going on, like you shared there around loving confidence and mindset, and also I do myself. What does confidence mean to you?
So I think confidence actually goes into like a lot of different things. So first of all, I think you get physical confidence. Okay. So I think physical confidence goes, I'm going to guess that everybody's seen The Matrix. So within The Matrix, they have who they are, and in The Matrix are wearing like all these dirty linen, rough cotton, and that they're all sort of, pale skin and all that kind of carry on. But then they're in The Matrix, they have this thing, they have like flashy power suits and the girls are powerful, and, that's confidence. It's almost within society. It's like, how do you see yourself, which is one thing. How do other people see you, and how would you like to be seen? So it's down to do with like physical articulation. So I am 6'5". I weigh 125 kilos. I used to work as a bodyguard. I used to do a lot of boxing. I used to do a lot of Thai boxing. I do rowing. I do weightlifting. So for me, physical articulation goes hand in hand with confidence. So if I've not been to the gym, then probably my shoulders will start to roll forward. I probably wouldn't be feeling that great. So for me, physical articulation confidence is about feeling present in your body. It's about feeling powerful. Yeah. And it's not about, running about the gym and just going, I'm stronger than you. It's just being where your body and your spirit are aligned. And then at that point, when a problem or an obstacle comes to you, because you're in a resourceful state, and because you've dealt with the adversity of physical exercise of pushing through a goal, it means that when you are faced with something, you have the confidence to move forward. So that's one part for me, which is physical articulation. I think the danger in confidence and a lack of confidence is when people either don't take responsibility for the physical health, or they're unable to, or sadly, when they compare themselves to what they think they should look like. So if I was in my mid to early 20s and I was watching stuff like Love Island, like just now, I would be slightly concerned. I think there's a fair amount of body dysmorphia, which I know is another completely different subject matter, but I think we need to address it when it comes to confidence. If there's young girls and guys that think they should be looking like a cover shoot or a bikini or a beach model, because, there's no, I'm not going to say there's not anyone ugly, because, beauty skin deep, but pretty much everyone's like kicking about 10%, like, body fat, if not lower than that program. So I think sometimes from a society point of view, it's if we compare ourselves. The next thing for me is a mental or emotional confidence. So in the same way, it's like how do you see yourself or how comfortable you are within that space. If you were to put me into a room of software engineers, or hedge fund managers, and they're talking about all the things, like I'm not going to feel confident in voicing my opinion, because I simply don't know enough about that to speak with confidence.
Yeah.
I think you can get like a form of mental confidence. But if it's something within your arena, like I feel really confident about speaking about this today, and if you were to like, challenge me in something, I'm more than happy to debate it. But if you want to talk about Excel spreadsheets, I would be like, oh, there's a problem with my internet connection, something's went wrong. So I think sometimes like that, that's mental confidence. But to pull it all together, I think confidence is having the belief that when you're faced with something that is outside your comfort zone, you take the right frame of mind to go into it. I think that's really what it's down. I think it's purely self-belief. I think there's lots of things that you can either add to yourself, almost like a suit of armor. But then I think there's also things that if you don't do, then you just feel a bit more vulnerable. I.e., if you were to say you've got a test tomorrow, but you've not studied for it, you're not going to feel confident. If you've done a test and you've studied your arse off for it, and at that point when you go in, you're going to feel really confident. If you and I were to go and climb a mountain tomorrow in Monroe, if we've got all the right equipment, we've got all the right gear, we're going to feel confident. But, if we turn up in a pair of flip-flops and, some swimwear, we might think that this is, not going to be the best idea.
Yeah. It's very interesting doing these kind of bursts of people as such to see what comes through as similar themes. And there's lots. I love how you position it in terms of physical, most mental and emotional as well there, and with such clarity. It's really interesting. And there's definitely a theme of lots coming out around this idea of knowledge, like you say. And I've got something I'm prepping for a presentation Wednesday, and last week I was like, oh, and then I was like, why am I feeling this way? What is it? And it's like, because I just don't have the knowledge I want yet to feel confident to go into it and feel tested and etc. and articulate my message how I want to. So I was like, well, what do I need to do? And it's when you can have that, I think, like we were going back to the part of the kind of the physical, the knowing you have of yourself as well, and how you work, what you stand for, that can allow you to then reflect and do that inner work of challenging yourself and asking yourself great questions. What do I need more of? What do I need to let go of? And then go at that, opposed to very much coming on to, I was thinking at the end of what you were sharing there is people overthink and overcomplicate a lot of this with confidence, or we'll do that blame, or it's this, it's that, or it feels right to say that, so I'll just attach it to that label, versus actually just slowing it down and thinking about, well, what does it mean? How can I be more confident? What areas of my life am I really confident? And then using, like with coaching, using those strengths of times when we've done really well, to now. And the idea, like you said, belief, I'm very much attached to. I can't take credit for this. It was Simon Sinek. He said it once in a podcast, but around the idea of others believing in you too, especially sometimes when we haven't seen potential in ourselves as something. And I always think that's so true of years ago, like when people ask, where did your confidence come from? And I seem very naturally confident. It was, a lot of it changed when I was doing drama, because I was doing pretty well at it, and the teacher recognized that, and then he'd say, do this and do that, and I got good feedback, and I loved that feel good feeling and that energy that I was good at something and someone believing in me when I didn't quite see that as well. So I was more self-awareness myself. It inspired me to want to take more action in that. And so I'm very focused on this idea of actually others believing as well. So I think that drawing that for me and how I work with clients and other people to help them is, how can I be that for them? How can I believe in them in terms of helping them something too?
Yeah, I think sometimes, from a coaching point of view, somebody will have maybe spent 25 years looking backwards. And sadly, as human beings, we don't always look back and see the good stuff, right? Like sometimes we see the bad stuff. But then when you're seeing it with a set fresh of eyes, and someone's going to go, no, you can do this, like you are capable. Like when I look back and see like the work that you've put in over the last 3, 6, 9, 12 months, this tells me, like purely from metrics, that you're capable of achieving that.
Yeah.
Because if someone goes in, someone goes into a situation, goes, oh, there's no way that I can do this, there's no way that I can do this, like I don't have the skills, I don't have the experience, I don't have the confidence, this is terrible, then that's the story which they tell themselves and they're convinced.
Absolutely.
But the other story they can tell themselves is, I'm going to succeed at this, I'm going to be really good, people are going to appreciate the value in this, I'm going to go forward with that mindset, and that is also the right story to tell myself. It's also the truth. But I think sometimes, I mean, I come from Scotland, and Scotland's not known for optimism, apart from like, can I drink this? Yes. But there is that thing that if pessimism has been in the house, or if pessimism has been in your career, then it's really easy that is the default. That's almost like when you turn it on, that's the first bit of software that comes up. And I think the confidence is also having that thing of, let's reprogram the story that we're telling ourselves, as opposed to just thinking, oh, there's no way that I could do that. Let's have a think about, how can I do that? And sometimes it's just removing like a couple of words. And at the end of the day, it's an alphabet. It's just a collection of letters and symbols. So I think it's really important that you just stop people in their tracks, and people also need to stop themselves in tracks, and as opposed to saying, I can't do this, saying I can do that. But I'm a fan of taking it another level and just like that, I'm going to do this really well. This is going to be a success. And it's not an arrogance thing, because the arrogance thing's like so wild. And I find like arrogant, whether it be in the person that's bringing me my dinner, or like a member of family, or someone that I do work with, like I find arrogance like just, it's a massive turn off for me, like massive. Like it's, so I'm all about being confident for the idea of doing it for good. But sometimes you see people like, I'm amazing at this, there's no problem with this because I'm Captain Fantastic. I'm just like, it's not realistic, it's cabaret, you're not fooling anyone. So I think it's a fine line. As long as it's done with humility, I say go all the way, be confident.
Yes, and I think actually, and this is listening to other people earlier in the week, that what's maybe missing with those people more is them asking. And actually, confidence is asking for help as well, in terms of, I am, like you said, there's something there, I'm really ambitious and really focused, determined, got great energy towards it, but I need some help as well. And I think that therefore then that's the arrogance part taken out, opposed to just, I've got it, I'm amazing, look at me. And I think that vulnerability with confidence is key.
Natalie, you're absolutely spot on. I was just going to follow on with like the biggest strength and the biggest indication towards confidence and courage is walking up to somebody and saying, I need your help. I can't do this by myself. I really need your help. You are where I want to be. That takes, because at that point you're like leaving yourself completely open. You're just like, this is me. I can't do it. Can you help me? Especially if someone's tried to do it time and time again. And they've not managed to do it. And then sometimes like it's just like a really, really small change. I see it all the time in the gym. Somebody's like just going blunt force trauma. And they've obviously got the drive, enthusiasm. There's something that's not clicking, and then they start working with a coach. And then they just go. And I think also it's the same with, mindset, lifestyle coaches. Somebody can just have like a tiny, tiny thing that's like derailing the whole day. And then they can just get something as simple as, a physical action, a verbal mantra, either internalized or externalized. And then at that point, that just stops the program there and then. And the thing is, if they're not going in that destructive direction all the time, if they're not failing to get the progress, they can just stop that. And I'm always amazed at how quickly somebody can really turn their life around, as long as they're being vulnerable, they're asking for help, and they're willing to put in the hard work. But as human beings, we're just like the most amazing beings. But I think sometimes we're also our biggest obstacles.
And I think that it's interesting. It just reminded me of last year when I was in the corporate space, and I was super confident because I had knowledge. Like I knew how to get results. I could look at something and say, you got to do X, Y, Z, you get a result. And so therefore I didn't need to ask for help a lot. And then I got told quite bluntly that I wasn't vulnerable. And I was like, well, I don't want to be that. And I think it's because the culture and the environment didn't welcome that. It didn't invite it into being a safe space for that. And that's, if you're doing your own business, you've got to create that for yourself and for others as well, in terms of asking, showing up and saying, I don't know everything. And I think that's really important. People think that, I work with students who are doing coaching qualifications too. And I say, you're not there yet. You don't know it all, and be okay with that, and be open to learning and sharing that part with people, because then you're going to grow. And I think it's interesting that then sometimes that's when I was at my most confident, but I probably needed a little bit less of that as well. I probably actually would have been seen as arrogant at points. Almost.
But I think it's that balance, and we always need to be self-aware.
Yeah.
Again, going back to the idea of social media, everyone that sees a finished article, everyone's showing the highlight reel. Now, I could talk about different speakers that I'm sure that you and I have both witnessed in the flesh through EE, and when you look at them on stage, like the 1st of August 2022, it's just like they're at critical mass, like right here, right now. That's as good as they're going to get until tomorrow, which is one thing to really keep in mind. But then if we go back to the first video on YouTube at 2017, it's a remarkably different experience, tonality, volume, inflection, intonation, vibe, message, and confidence.
Yeah.
But then people think it should be coming out with the finished article. And I think that's, again, it's that humility of you have to go through the journey to reach the destination. And I think that's why sometimes that confidence can just be slightly self-destructive. I think, as I said at the beginning, I think you've just got to have that balance of self-awareness. And I mean, I think there's times to rock into bar and just go, 10 tequilas, let's do this. And then there's other times you're like, can I have a glass of water, please? So I think it's just, but that all comes with experience. And I think, when I was younger, when I was in my 20s and stuff, I was wild. I don't actually think I would give, if I was to walk into my office just now, I don't think I'd give myself a job. I think I'd just go, woo, that guy's too much. But for who you are, for whatever age, that's kind of what, people expect from you.
Yeah.
Like if you're an 18-year-old boy or girl, possibly more boy, and you pass your driving exams, people fully expect for you to be driving down the road dangerously with all your mates in the car, the windows down, playing music that's going to get blood coming out your ears. It's probably 300 beats per minute. And if you were driving down the road listening to folk music, people would be like, something wrong, because you're so out of the balance. So again, I think it's down to experience. It's been an authentic version of you and having the confidence to just go, well, this is where I stand. This is my style, but do it in a way that's not arrogant.
Yeah. Which areas of life do you want to be more confident in?
Now that's a hard one. That's one of the hardest questions I've been asked. So I'm confident in what I do, but I would like to expand my experience. I would like to expand my skills. So I suppose the things that I want to go into, I'd like to be more confident in, but that's only going to come from experience, and that may well be something down to there's 2 bits of software which I would like to learn.
Yeah.
And once I learn them, then I'll be confident in them.
Yeah.
So for me, it's the 2 bits of software. So at Rebellious Business, everyone apart from me is right into systems.
Yeah.
Jennifer, who works behind the scenes, she's amazing. It's just she's Excel spreadsheets all day long. Cordelia is very much systems and creative, and Gary's systems and creative. And then as soon as they start talking about certain things, I'm just like that. Hey, who wants a coffee? I'm out here. So I would like to be more experienced and more confident in those systems so that I can bring more to the company. I think for me, I would like to be more confident in them. And again, that just comes from learning something.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. And I guess final one for you, it's such a great conversation, but who's been your best mentor and why?
Okay, so best mentor is a person I've never met. It's a lady called Frances Hodgson Burnett, and she wrote a book called Little Lord Fauntleroy. And there's a whole, the book's amazing, and I believe there's a film as well, but there's a piece of dialogue, there's a piece of prose in it, which has just stayed with me, and it's occupied real estate in my head since I was 7. And the line is, and she says it to her son, she says, the world should be a better place because a man has lived. And she talks about the idea of you can make small changes in people's lives, and that kindness and that positivity will echo through, and you can actually make the world a better place.
Yeah.
So that is the thing. I've never really had a mentor or taking the time to seek one out. But as far as like, you know, someone's opinion or whatever, that line, like, I think about that every single day.
Yeah.
And whether it's I'm in a coffee shop and see someone that's, you know, shuffling for change in their pocket, or if it's somebody that's looking for directions, or if it's, you know, there's a person at a bus stop last week. There's a bus stop right next to the office, and they just looked like really, really sad and dejected. And I'm like, I was looking at their body language and like, they're not in a good place. And this is not me like trying to make out that I'm like amazing. I'm not, but I just thought, if I walk past that person, I've no idea what the rest of that day looks like for the person. Whereas if I spend like 5, 10 or 15 minutes like talking to them or whatever, then the quality of my day from a really selfish point of view is going to improve. But also whatever thought it is, I'm pretty sure that I can either stop or dissipate it long enough for the momentum to decrease, and then maybe a new thought come out. And I went and sat and talked to this guy. His name was John. He had lost his job. He was worried about rent. He was worried about cost of living. And I chatted to him for 15 minutes, and it was just at the end of it, like, he stood up and like he gave me like a big massive hug, and he was like, "That I've just not told anyone about this." And I was just like, "Was it all just running about your head like a squash ball?" And he said, "Yeah." And I was like, "It's cool then." I said, "It's fine." So like, did I have to give him any money? No, but it was just like taking the time to speak to like another human being. So that, but like, I mean, I've got tons of like stuff like that where it's just taking a moment to go and speak to somebody, or, you know, sending someone flowers or giving them a nice surprise. I mean, it doesn't need to be like a massive thing, but that's been the thing that's had the biggest influence on me. And funnily enough, like, it's something that you don't need to spend ages doing every day. Like, it's just that one thing. I'd love to have a mentor that I think would, you know, absolutely change my life or whatever. But I've no idea who that would be. I've no idea who would tolerate or put up with me.
Sometimes it's just paying attention, isn't it? And knowing that you know what you need, and then just waiting for it to show up, and then going, "That's for me." That's what I have to do quite a lot, opposed to just going full force. But then having a bit of spontaneity too. But I love what you shared there, and I certainly know a lot of clients at the minute. Just, I don't have to ask a lot of questions. I don't have to do a lot at all. Actually, sometimes it's quite easy, because it's just about creating a safe space and letting them feel heard. And exactly like you said, that word that's really resonating a lot at the moment for me is a moment to think, and just a moment, you know, for somebody, because we have, you know, whatever they say, 30, 60,000 thoughts a day. If you think most of those are negative, and when do we just get time to think and just be in that moment? And it's incredible when people around you, and you can find those connections, allow that to just be. And like we said earlier, just we're constantly looking back, we're constantly looking forward. It's like, why don't we just look, why can't we just, today's the best day? And that's, you know, what do I want today to be, and how's it going to be great?
Yeah.
Simple.
But I think as well, like, sometimes people think, well, when I get to destination, like, everything will be fixed. Or they think the other side, like, things are always going to be like this bad. Like, sometimes, you know, I'll speak to people and their businesses aren't going as well as they thought they would. And I'm just like, you know, the next customer, like, the next miracle is just around the corner.
Yeah.
Like, it could be as soon as I hang up the phone or whatever. I actually was saying that to a client, and a call came up and said, "I think that's a call," and then she hung up the phone. And I was like, okay, cool. She was listening. But yeah, I think people do need to take that moment, because if not, like, some thoughts just need to be like just chopped in half like a snake. Just need to cut the head off it, and then go back and go, was I framing that in the right way, or was that like a runaway train? Was I thinking about that, or was that just like internal dialogue going mad? And I wish this kind of stuff was taught in school. Like, I really do. I wish this was taught in like 4th, 5th, 6th year. Especially, you know, like, you know, teenage kids when they're going through all that thing. And it's like, because I think a lack of confidence certainly leads to alcohol and drug abuse. Because they've not done the thing that scares them. So in order to like do the thing that scares them, as opposed to like that 30 seconds, I'll just do the thing that scares them for 30 seconds, then it'll be over. It's the fall into the, you know, the comfort zone of alcohol and drugs, which is really sad, because I think that you have certain periods in your life where you can develop that courage, you can develop that adversity.
Yeah.
But then I think that and certainly like, Scotland, like, drinking in Scotland, like, it's just mad. Like, it's an epidemic, and a lot of kids, it starts like 15, 16 or whatever, like they want to go out, they want to go and talk to girls, they want to talk to boys, or like, as well as a boredom thing, it's also just like, I'm going to go and like, I'm going to go and like, talk to these people or go to that party. Like, I need to have 4 bottles of beer before I go and do it. And it's, it's kind of scary. So the stuff that, the stuff that you and I are talking about just now, I would really love to see that rolled out.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's all the times like in the last year where I've been in a situation where someone's asked me to, explain trigonometry, or what the default, measurement is for, rupees. Like, so much of the stuff we get taught in schools just like a complete nonsense.
Yeah.
And it's so old. Like the same stuff that I got taught as my grandparents. Like, I think we need to embrace popular psychology into school and getting these kids more confident and building a better world.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's interesting. So the work I'm doing for the workshop on Wednesday is looking to go into schools and do certain workshops with a company. It's a phenomenal thing, but it's more around with this. It's reflective skills and the science behind learning, so that it can help them in revision, etc., and feeling confident for exams and things and setting them up. But I have this argument. One of my passions is that we miss out in our education system about how you manage emotions. Right, it's just life skills, and then we wonder. I'd love to see a case study that took someone from younger to like our ages, like where I think now that if somebody had helped me manage my emotions or limiting beliefs, where I would be now, it would just be incredible to see that journey from somebody. But that's the tough stuff, isn't it?
That's the tough stuff that I think no one wants to put their name to. Although, and by that I mean, like, from a bureaucratic point of view, no one wants to bring that in case it goes wrong.
Yeah.
But like, if you go to any city centre, like throughout Europe, I would say certainly like, throughout the UK, like, you can set your clock by at 11 o'clock outside a pub, outside a kebab shop, outside, some form of licensed premises. There will be girls that are like consoling each other and bursting into tears and talking about that somebody doesn't like them, or Tracy said that dress was ugly on them, and they've just got all these emotions and they can't deal with it, and then they just let it out, which is really healthy, certainly healthier than boys that want to try and fight a lamppost, or fight each other or whatever. So there's obviously a massive need for it, and I just can't help but think, if we got those ideas, if we planted those seeds when kids are about 3rd or 4th year or whatever, then I think at that point when we're coming out, they would have that thing of limitation disengagement. Like, okay, I can do anything I want to do, but I'm going to have to work bloody hard at it.
Yeah.
As opposed to, oh, you want to do that? Oh, I'm not too sure that's for you, son. Like, one of my friends, he works in NASA. He's one of the guys that works in operations. And I said to him, what is the one thing that every employee at NASA has? And he said, they don't think about limitations. I said, really? And he said, yeah. He said, everyone at NASA, like from the janitor to like, the directors to the, like, it's not, oh, can that be done? It's like,
how do you do it?
How can we do it? Like, how can we do it? And he said it could be something simple as, how do we get 100 reams of, paper up to the top office? Or it could be, how do we get something to the moon or to Mars or whatever? Yeah. It's not about can we or should we. It's about, like, let's find out if we can. He said, because for a lot of those conversations, when they're having it, because they're looking at something that's impossible, then they're bringing that frame of mind into everything else that they're doing. And then they're getting solutions to problems that they hadn't even thought of. And it's just like solution.
I always say that, like, leave a conversation on the art of the possible. And I used to get really, I used to be quite blunt, obviously, at times, shocker. But it comes to me like, I've got a problem. And I was like, listen, the problem I've got is that you've got a problem. I was like, well, what's the solution? And what are we going to do? How are we going to make it happen? What can we do? What's the solution? And that's the mindset part, isn't it? That you choose to go down that route, where you want to be.
Yeah, when I was sort of 19, I worked in a nightclub in Glasgow. And one of the guys that worked in the door guy called Solomon, lovely, beautiful, handsome guy. And people would come up to him and go, oh, we've got a problem, i.e. there's some sort of fight or there's demon. And then he'd just go, no, we've got a temporary situation.
Yeah.
And that was his thing. Like, if you came up to him and said, we've got a pro, you'd get pro it, and he would just put his hand out and said, no, we've got a temporary situation.
Yeah.
And again, you know, we were talking about mentors earlier on. That's always stayed with me. And when I have people that come to me and go, oh, we've got this massive problem. And I'm like, first of all, it's not massive, it just is.
Yeah.
And second, it's not a problem, it's a temporary situation. And then at that point, once you break down that obstacle and you just go, well, what are the variables that we can control? Let's control them. What's the stuff that we can't control? Let's explore that because we can.
Yeah.
And then let's look at the internal and external forces that can take to bear. And by the time you break that problem down into something much smaller and you take it into parts, even when you show that back to the person, it doesn't look anything like it did to begin with.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, like, I remember, like, you know, like people go, oh, what's your problem? Like, that's the thing that people say to each other in Glasgow, oh, what's your problem?
Yeah.
And it's just like, even that phrase, like, it's your problem. Like, well, me, I didn't know that we were talking about anything, but now I have a problem. Shit, that feels really bad. Well, what is it we're discussing? But like, the language which we use is so powerful. And again, it's that thing when people use it like all the time. Like, yeah. It's worth exploring, and I think it's worth exploring on a national level.
Yeah.
But it's mad because as soon as you start talking, like, you know, I would say the majority of people in the UK or whatever, just like, oh no, son, that's not for you, or it's sad. So we need to, you know, we need to push that thing forward about, you know, confidence and about, you know, changing limitations, because if we don't, no one else will.
I love that. What an amazing, I've absolutely loved this conversation. I could talk to you forever, I know. But where can people find and connect with you?
So you can, if you want to hear some hilarity, I've got a podcast show, which is called the Stephen Rowan Show. But I would just like to say that I've not recorded anything in 2 years. Some of it's remarkably old. Interesting enough, one of the guest interviews, Jeremy Corbyn. I've interviewed people from gangs in LA, broadcasters from around the world, mental health advocates, teachers, trainers. Like, it's very, very expansive, which is why, because I didn't choose a niche, so that's why no one's really heard of it. If you want to see funny memes, then you should go into Instagram. It's Stephen Rowan DMS. Okay. And I generally like, I'll post funny stories in there. And interesting enough, there's a picture of Frances Hodgson's Burnett for National Women's Day. National Women's Day was the last time that I posted in the wall. Twitter, Stephen Rowan Show. You can find me on LinkedIn. And if you're in Glasgow, then give me a bell and come and find me in Glasgow.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time. It's been absolutely phenomenal. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Being Confident from Within. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and it inspired you in trusting no matter what happens in any particular situation, you'll be able to handle it and learn from the outcome. I really love hearing from you, so please leave a review and let me know which part of the episode resonated with you the most. Have an amazing day.